Hey everybody, welcome back to another Geek N Out. We are in season 2, episode 1, and we've got a really awesome show today. We're going to be talking about retro games versus modern games, how the older games hold up compared to the newer games. It's going to be a lot of fun. My name is Matt.
I'm Mittens.
Let's get into it. So we're going to do things differently. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes first because there's a few things that, we want to each talk about. Like it's going to be like an interview. So she's going to ask me questions, I'm going to ask her questions, might even use some of the same questions that she's asking me. So I guess we'll go with the retro first because that was where everything started, and then we will go into the modern day of gaming, and then we're gonna answer questions that have been asked on like Twitter and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Heck yeah. So of course, we're kind of doing like back and forth, me more versus the modern and you more for the retro. My first question for you would be, what do you categorize as retro? Like, what is your time period?
So they always say, and I've asked this question a few times to people too, like what do you consider retro? And I've heard people say anything from PS2 is not counted as retro. Anything that is pixelated is retro. It's kind of a hard to decide what is, but for me personally, anything that is, I would say, 10 years old or older is considered retro. So PS3 and 360 are kind of sort of getting to that point where they are considered retro consoles now because when you really think about it, 360 came out in 2005. We're hitting almost the 20-year mark since 360 first came out. And some of the games, I even consider some of the early 360 games to be retro, such as like Condemned or that game Gun, which was kind of like Red Dead Redemption, because a lot of those games came out on PS2 and Xbox original as well and GameCube. So I would consider some of those to be retro. Maybe like late 360 games, not so much, because if there's stuff that's still on that was on PS4, because PS4 to me is not. Then again, you're hitting the 10-year mark on that as well, but it's still so new that I don't consider PS4 or Xbox One to be in the retro category. For me, I'd say early 360 PS3 games all the way back to the first gaming console, Atari, ColecoVision, all that stuff. I would consider those to be retro. And that's when I go to these retro shops and when I see people posting about retro stuff on like Twitter and everything, it's usually anything from GameCube, Xbox original, PS2, all the way back to like NES. So I don't really see a lot of people posting PS3 games and saying, "Oh, hey, yo, this is retro." I've had people actually get mad at me for posting a game that came out in 2003 and calling it retro. I mean, it's going to be 20 years since 2003 came and went. So, I was in high school when these games were brand new. All right, so they're technically, to me, they count as retro at this point because they're so old. Um, I won't get into the prices of some of them, but yeah, that's to me, that's what I consider retro.
I think the problem is when you people get offended by you saying like an '03. I think it's their own mortality that they're fighting more than the technology. So it's them thinking that they're also getting old and they don't want to think of it like that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like a mentality thing.
when I was so let's say somebody who is a teenager now, those games were out when they were brand new when they were just babies,
Yeah.
compared to us or me at least when I was a toddler, like 2 or 3, probably 4 years old. Nintendo was brand new. All right, so by the time I was a teenager, those were considered retro, and the PS2 stuff was considered new at the time. And I would say even SNES was considered retro at that point too, because I used to go to this store that was by my house, and unfortunately they closed it. I don't know why they closed it. I heard something to do with they were scamming people out of Pokemon cards or some crap like that. We had two retro shops by my house closed. One for Pokemon cards, one closed for selling stolen movies. How they get it? There's a Best Buy right next door. But the one that I went to when I was younger, this was like GameStop wasn't even a thing. It kind of was, but I wasn't going to the mall stores. So if you remember back in the day, we had these gaming stores in the malls, and I really wouldn't go to
Yeah.
those. I'd go to this other place because they sold games for a little cheaper. That's probably also why they closed. I really don't know why. I just remember going by one day and they were no longer there. But when I was going there to buy brand new PS2 games, and I'll tell you the last game I bought there was Silent Hill 2, but they were selling stuff from the N64, the Dreamcast, the SNES, Sega Genesis, I think even Atari games. I really wasn't looking for those because we didn't have one. But at that time, because I was a teenager, I was probably like 15 or 16, maybe 14 years old, and it was just those were considered the older games at the time. And the PS2 and Xbox and GameCube were the brand new, the hottest of the hot, the new hotness. They were the latest and greatest, basically. So they were the new
Yeah.
games at the time. So it was interesting to see how it's now considered retro on some of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, what draws you towards retro more so? If it doesn't, if like you kind of equally are with the modern games too, because you do play modern games, but like what draws you towards the retro?
Now, are you saying as a content creator, what draws me towards the retro,
No, I mean
or
like
just in general?
in general. I mean you can also go on that spectrum as well.
Well, okay, so I and I've had people ask me this all the time. They say, "How long have you been a retro collector?" And I jokingly say, "Oh, well, since I was 6 or 5." I can't remember when I actually first played a Nintendo, but I mean, I still have games from the Nintendo back when we got them, back in '91 through '93, because I think I got the Genesis in '93, and the Nintendo kind of just off in this. Damn thing wasn't working back then either, so half the time it didn't work. So we were like, whatever. Um, but for a while, I did. I'll tell you what, the only because I still have some of these games. The only games that I did not sell when I was younger, thank God I didn't, was my Genesis and SNES games. I still have them. So most of them. I did get rid of a couple of them because I just didn't want them. But like I would sell my PS1 games, PS2 games for stupid reasons. Like I bought Guitar Hero. I was so upset about that. I'll get
Yeah.
in that in a minute. Like I'm pretty sure you're gonna ask me about the retro collecting, which this kind of leads into that. But I had always had these games, and I think around 2008 when because I wasn't buying retro games between 2000. Whenever I got rid of all my PS1, PS2 games, I was not buying retro games because they still weren't considered retro. They were still considered brand new. So I wasn't really buying too many of them. I got rid of a bunch of them because I was like, I'm not gonna need these games again ever. Because when am I ever gonna play these games again? Because when you're younger, you don't think about that. So around 2008, this store opened up, the one that closed for selling the stolen movies, and I went in there one day and I saw just a bunch of PS1 games, bunch of PS2 games. We actually have a bookstore near us that it's actually a bookstore that's I think throughout the entire country. It's called Half Price Books. I don't know if you guys have them up there. Um, but I noticed they started selling older games, and so I started collecting more. And in 2008, when the store opened up, I went in there. I was like, "Oh man, they got this game," and I sold it, and I really want that game again. So I bought it, and then I went back again, bought another one, and then they started getting more and more and more and more and more, where they just had a whole wall full of retro games and PS1 games and Dreamcast games and everything. And I was like, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of stuff to choose from. And at one point, I was just going there every day after work to just see if I could find something. And I guess what drew me into it was just, I wanted to, first, it was just I want to build my collection. I just want to have these for collection purposes and just to say, hey, I have I have all these PS1 games that some that I never got to play originally, some that I did have originally and I sold and I just wanted them back in my collection. And it was just one of those things where I was just getting them back in my collection. And then it got to the point where somebody said, um, hey, you should because I started doing more like reviews and stuff, and somebody's like, hey, you should, record your reviews and everything and on YouTube. And I was like, okay, well, let me think about it. And it never happened. So eventually somebody says, hey, you should stream. And I didn't know what to stream. I was like, what do I want to stream? And I saw one of my friends doing retro stuff. And I was like, I kind of want to do that because I know a lot about these older games and I could tell a bunch of stories about them and just go on and on and on and on and just talk about them as I'm streaming, which is pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, somebody once told me too, they're like, you play a lot of the games that people haven't heard of, which it can be a good or a bad thing, like the Suffering. A lot of people don't know what that game is, but I'm getting that audience now that's like, hey, we kind of we want to see this. This game's kind of cool. And we're like, we don't care what you're playing. We just want to talk to you, kind of thing. And it's just fun telling the stories of what it was like when these games were brand new. So I have a lot of fun. And I've told the story about how I got into Resident Evil 100 times. I'm not going to tell it again. Y'all have heard it before. Dino Crisis, all that fun stuff. It's just that and being able to relive my youth. Because actually before I was streaming, I would play a lot of these games over. Like, let's
Mm.
say I wanted to play, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Solid 1 or Resident Evil 2 or 3. What I love about playing these older games is as I'm playing them, and this is any game, not just those, I'll play through it and I just think back to the better times, before I was adulting and having, all this adult stuff I got to take care of. I just think back to, when I was in high school when, I have fun now, but back to a better time, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
before the world started going to, and it's just because 2001 was like a great year for me for gaming and other stuff happened that we won't get into right now, but that was just a great year for me for gaming, and it just brings back a lot of awesome memories for that year when I play anything from the PS2 that year because that was when I met a lot of my friends that I still know today, and it's
Yeah.
just it's one of those things. It's you play this game and you think back to your childhood and how
Yeah.
awesome it was at times. Um, Usually with modern games, like I don't get that kind of nostalgia because when I complete a modern game, I 90% of the time don't go back to it. It's very rare if I go back to a modern game these days because you don't have time. Everything's a damn open world game and you just don't have time to jump back into them. I used to be able to. I used to be able to just go through Vice City whenever I wanted and just play that entire game. Now I didn't do 100%, but I'd play through the whole story. And then I think once San Andreas hit, that's when I started realizing these games are getting too damn big for me to even just go through one time. Like I barely made it through that game the first time.
So for you, retro is the nostalgia, basically. And of course, showing something new to a lot of people who haven't technically maybe been playing games for that long or don't know anything about, kind of the roots of gaming.
Yeah, that that is another reason why I like going back to revisit these games because um I've been doing my retro recap episodes, which is not really a review. Yes, it's kind of a review, but it's also a going back to see if these games still hold up today. Because games back then, I would have thought, oh, this game was awesome back then, but it sucks now because the controls are so bad. I'll use an example: Evil Dead: Hail to the King. Like I to this day have no idea how the hell I even got through that game with as janky as the controls were because I tried playing it recently. I was like, this game's controls are just rough, wrecked, rough. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Yeah.
They're hard to get through, and I'm like, how did I beat this game, especially on the Dreamcast? So that's kind of why I do those recap episodes, is to see, do I remember this game being as good as it was back then? And even movie games, were they as good as the movie? Half the time, no, they weren't.
Yeah.
Um, but I've had people, tell me, uh, they'll watch those episodes, and they're younger people sometimes, and they're like, I didn't know this game existed or I didn't know that this was a thing. I never got to play this game when I was younger, so it's awesome that you're playing it. I get to see somebody actually playing through it. I've had people in the streams talking. We were actually just talking about Dino Crisis last Thursday when I completed the game, and this kid, a younger viewer, told me in the chat. He said, "Oh, he was in the chat when we did our live stream. I forget who it was. I think it was Igor.
Oh yeah.
He said, I completed this game in 2004 when he was like I don't know, young kid, and I was like, "Damn, dude, you're making me feel old because I was a teenager when that game came out." And it's just awesome to revisit these games and just not only tell my memories, but have people who, never got to play them to begin with. I've had people who never got to play, what was it? Siphon Filter, and they're like, "This game looks awesome. I want to go out and try it." Dino Crisis is actually one game in particular where somebody came into the chat, one of my viewers, and they said, "I've never played this game before, but it looks awesome," and they went and played it because I was playing it. So I think that's awesome that some of these games I'll play them, and other people will be like, "I really want to try this game out because it looks like fun." And I gotta warn
Oh,
them sometimes because the controls are hideous. I'm like, just so you know, the controls are pretty bad in some of these older games. So just go into it
have
with
some
an open
patience.
mind. I say it in just about every Resident Evil review, recap, whatever I do, and I got a special announcement about that at the end of the episode. Um,
Mhm.
I always tell people, look, I know these games aren't for everybody, so if you are used to the newer ones, going back to the old ones is going to be a heck of a change because it's not over the shoulder, it's fixed camera, and they can be pretty hard to adjust to if you're used to like over the shoulder and modern games and everything.
Yeah, yeah. What do you find are the difficulties of playing maybe retro games now?
Well, for a while, it was just finding a way to hook the damn thing up to my modern TV. That was one of the biggest difficulties was trying to figure out how to hook the damn thing up. Because you believe it or not, you can hook up those old, show my age here, red, white, and yellow cables to an HD TV. You just got to do it a funky way. And I'm like, that's annoying. I don't want to do that. So I kept looking. I was like, there's got to be another way to get these to hook up easier and not so annoying. And so I got a VGA adapter, which basically you plug those three prongs into a thing, plug an HDMI cable into it, plug it into your TV. And I was
Mhm.
like, it works, but the color, the screen is kind of dim and dull and dark, So I looked
Yeah.
into other options, and there's these things called pound cables. Well, you plug, they basically have the connections that like a PS2 would have, or a Dreamcast, or a Genesis, SNES. In fact, I got one right here. So it's this thing, and it's got the same Sega Genesis, connector. So you just
Oh.
plug it into the back of the system, and then you plug your HDMI cable right there. So
Hmm.
that that made life a lot easier trying to play these games because people would say, I'd have people comment, "What emulator are you using?" I'm like, "I'm not. This is the real system. I'm just using an HDMI cable." You can't stream old consoles. You sure can. When there's a will, there's a way. You can.
Yeah.
There is a way. I have a friend of mine. He was same thing. He was trying to find because once he started streaming, he says, "I want to find a way to be able to stream my original SNES, which I still do, unless I'm playing it on like the SNES Mini or something." There is a way you can do it. Not everything's an emulator. Not everything's a ROM. I try not to do those if I can help it. I
Yeah.
try to be original hardware as much as possible, which is why I am so upset that I can't get some of the Silent Hill games because they are so ungodly priced. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to. I will play the PC version of Silent Hill 4 and be happy with it. Means I got to hook my laptop up, but I'll do that and be happy with it. So that's one of the difficulties. Also, wired controllers is another problem. So you the I tried it once and I was like, this Sega Genesis controller, the wire is way too short. I need to
Yeah.
find something. And I remember complaining about it on the stream. I said, "Damn, this cable, it is so short. I'm gonna pull the Genesis right off the shelf if I'm not careful." And one of my friends told me, "Oh, just get this 8-bit duo thing. Go get this, and it's an adapter where you can basically Bluetooth your PS4 controller into the Genesis." So I'm like, "Well, goddamn.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, it
Learn something new
works."
every day.
Yeah, and there is so the first time I ever saw one of those things was actually for the PS2. Actually, it was a Dreamcast. I'm looking at it right now, but you can plug an adapter into your Dreamcast and hook a PS3 or PS4 controller up to it, it has a weird function where it just starts off as arcade fighter, and you're like, oh, what the hell? Everything's all over the place. But you can change it to where you can make it be adjusted to a PlayStation controller, which makes it a little bit easier. And it comes with a built-in memory card on the Dreamcast. So they had that, and then they had one for the PS2. And I said, hell yes, I will definitely play these. And the cool thing about it was you can use your controller wirelessly, but after a while it just stopped working because my PS4 controllers are just the batteries are so effed in those things that they die after a little bit of use, like the battery just drains. So
Yep.
I leave them hooked in. I have a long enough cable to where it's like it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's really just one of the challenges of retro gaming now is hooking it up to your modern TV and getting it to work. The only one that I never knew about, somebody told me recently, that was Resident Evil 2 on N64 does not run properly on an HD TV. And I said, what are you talking about? It runs perfectly fine on mine. And they said, no, it does this thing, and then it starts changing resolution, and then the screen goes black sometimes. I'm like, oh crap, I thought I just had a bad cartridge. I didn't know it was the HD TV thing. And then like, yeah, it'll work if you take the expansion pack out and put the jumper pack back in. I said, bro, that thing's in my closet somewhere. I'm not gonna go looking for it. So I will deal with the resolution changes and black screens every 2 seconds or every whatever. I'm fine.
Yeah. But another difficulty you would say, because you said it a couple times, is just the expense of the games. So hard, it's not also just hard to find these games, but when you do, they're astronomical.
It's not so back when I started collecting in 2008, you could find some of these games, like say Metal Gear Solid for $15 at a
Yeah.
used game store. $15. No problem. Now, I don't know how much Metal Gear runs for now because it's not one I'm actively looking for because I have the game. I just like to look at some of these games to see how much they cost. But like Resident Evil, I have all the old Resident Evils from the day that I bought them. Dino Crisis have them from the day that I bought them. But the prices are just skyrocketing, and it's because of 2020. I was at a retro gaming store about a month ago, and I got Cold Fear. And it's a game that I've been wanting and looking for forever, but online it was just stupid in price, like $100. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not paying $100 for it. Screw this. So they had it for 70. I was like, oh my God. I said, I see it. And my dad always says, if you don't get it, you'll never see it again. And I tell my wife the same thing because she's always like, hey, should I, when she sees a Squishmallow, she's like, should I get it? I was like, if you don't get it now, you will never see it again. And sometimes
Yep.
it's true. You never will see it again. So, I mean, I asked her, I said, hey, they got this game here and it's one that I've been looking for, but it's this much. Cause you spending that kind, you gotta run it by them first. And she's like,
Run it by the
if it's
boss.
something you're looking for, go ahead and get it, and she
Yeah.
says, I told her, I said, online, it is just ridiculous. And I told her the price, and she's like, F that, just get it. If it's something you want, get it. Because it's something I did want. It's something that somebody requested me to play back when I started streaming. And I said, I don't have that game and I really can't find it. And I should have bought all of these games when I saw them for my dumbass should have also gotten the Silent Hill games when I saw them for $20 when I was working at GameStop. I saw them all. Some of them could have been $10. I saw them all there and I said I should have just got them. And I did get Silent Hill 3 a long time ago, and then I sold it because I got the HD collection, which people will tell me, oh, that's the worst one ever made. It's a version that I can play. I don't care if it's the worst one ever made. Just stop. But speaking of Silent Hill, I mean, that same retro shop, I asked them just out of curiosity, I said, how often do you guys get Silent Hill games? And the guy's like, oh, we just had them, we get them every once in a while. We just had the Silent Hill 2 about 2 weeks ago, sold it for $350. I'm like, and that's the PS2 version. The Xbox version was $60. I'm like, that's reasonable, but damn, $350?
Oh,
Good God.
wait. I need to see if my brother still has his.
Um and the problem is the problem with Silent Hill, the reason why that one is so expensive is because Konami just for a while they're like, we don't care, we're not making any more Silent Hills. F you guys. Well, it's different story now. We're getting a bunch of Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
But for a while, and I've heard multiple stories on this. I've heard they lost the source code, so that's why the prices went up. I've heard that it's because they just don't care and they don't want to make any more, so the price went up. I've heard 2020 is the reason the price went up. I want to say right before that, I was thinking about getting one of them, and they had it for sale on Amazon for like $50, and I should have gotten it. And at one point they were about 60. I said, damn, I should have just gotten them, but I was out of a job in
Yeah.
2020, so I was like, I can't just go blowing my money on this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's other games like I think Earthbound is pretty up there. Donkey Kong Country Championship Edition or something. The one they played at tournaments is up there. Like there's
Hmm.
special versions that are crazy expensive because they're special versions. Like they've always been expensive, no matter what. And Symphony of the Night Castlevania has always been expensive. I happened to get it for $20. No, $10 at Blockbuster. Disc is scratched as shit. I still have it. If I were to play it, the music would cut out every like 5 minutes and then start back up and then cut out again, start back up because so many people rented it. And I guess they tried to buff
Mhm.
out the scratches and that's what was causing it. But eventually that game's available everywhere. So I don't know why the price of the physical edition is so high still, but you know, a lot of these older games, and that's kind of also what made me go into getting the physical editions again because I was like, hey, I got these games on PSN for the PS3, but I also want the box. I want the physical edition in my collection. So I started looking for more of them. And I remember when I bought Silent Hill, again, $50. And this was 10 years ago in 2012. It was $10, $50. They had that and they had Resident Evil Survivor. And I said, I'm gonna get these now because if that game's $50, it's only gonna go up more and more and more and more. There's another game called Einhander, which is a very, very, very always been hard to find game. Always been kind of expensive. I think they sold it to me for like $30 maybe. And this person had just brought in a bunch of trades, and I saw that. I said, "How much? Give to me." And they're like, "Oh, $30." I said, "Give." So I have that game now. It's very, like I said, very hard to find game, and I've only ever played the demo of it. But it's also a tough as shit game. Like I don't think I've ever completed the first level. It is so hard. It is a SquareSoft game. That is not Final Fantasy. So, and then you have another one, a fighting game called Urgis. I think that's what it's called. And I'm like, man, that game, I bought that one too, and it's gone up. And I'm like, God. But it wasn't until recently when everything just started going up, Even consoles.
Yeah.
Even consoles are getting up there.
Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. I agree with you. You had some really great points about retro. Most definitely. I don't know. I mean, do you find it difficult to kind of go back and forth between like the modern and the retro graphics?
Nah.
Any of that kind of just like no?
Nah, it's pretty easy. Like now yesterday actually I was playing God of War, which is running at 60 frames, pretty graphics, pretty like, oh my god, 60 frames per second. And then I popped in Gotham Knights, 30 frames per second. I'm like, oh god, my eyes, the goggles do nothing. It was but that's the only time where I'm like, oh, gross. 30 frames per second. It's fine. It's actually fine. I will play a game at 30 frames, no problem. But going back to those older games, I have zero issue going back to older graphics. I know some people do. We had somebody in the chat last Thursday. I don't know what their point they were trying to get across was. They said I was playing Down on Crisis, and they said old emoji fire. I'm like, fire is in like good or like
Burn
old
it
burn it
down.
down like what? And I asked them, and they didn't answer. So I was like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. If somebody's gonna trash on an older game, like I don't like when people refuse to play older games because of the graphics. They go, oh, the graphics are not the best. Who cares? We did not give a crap about graphics when these games were brand new. We just cared about games. We just cared what looked awesome. Yeah, one game would look better on Xbox than it did on PS2. I have two copies of SSX. I got them both on Xbox and PS2, and I will tell you the Xbox version looks better because the Series X upscales the resolution a little bit. Um, the Punisher I have on Xbox and I play it on 360. It looks great, but like now people just all they care about are the graphics. Like, oh, this has 46 gajillion teraflops. Who gives a crap? Just enjoy the games for what they are. Why does everything have to be a competition? I mean, yeah, it was kind of a competition back then, but that was more of the companies doing it. That wasn't the
Yeah.
gamers. Like, I did not tell my friend, "Oh, hey, you suck because," or Billy Madison. Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis is the best game ever. Well, I like Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong sucks. Well, you something, you suck. We never did that. We never did that. Like, if I had a NES or SNES and my friend didn't, he'd come over and play. My first neighbor, he had a Genesis. I did not. I had a Nintendo. So we'd go to each other's house. I played a Genesis.
Yeah.
He played the Nintendo. Eventually, I did get a Genesis, but we didn't fight with each other like that. We weren't like ripping each other's throats out, being like, "Oh, our console's better. We have these many games. We have that many games." Back
True.
then, and I'd say all the way up to PS2, Xbox, GameCube, that was the last time where anything was truly, truly exclusive to one system. Not really. Because Splinter Cell was exclusive for like a year, maybe some months, and then it went to PS2, and then everything started jumping ship from, one Grand Theft Auto went to Xbox. So no, I'm just gonna say PS1 and N64 Dreamcast was the last time where everything was like truly, truly exclusive. Um, but back then there were games on the systems like if you didn't have it, tough luck. You
Yep.
just didn't have it. I'll use some examples. I know I talk about this game a lot on the channel. Siphon Filter. You didn't have a PlayStation? Too bad you weren't playing it. GoldenEye. You didn't have an N64? Too bad you weren't playing it. Well, now it doesn't matter. You get to have an Xbox. You play it there. Metal Gear Solid was PlayStation exclusive for the longest time. Resident Evil was PlayStation exclusive for the longest time.
Yeah.
No, they were also on PC. I take that back. Um, but like all the way up to let's say God of War, original God of War. Came
Mm.
out. My buddy says, "Oh, is this game on Xbox?" I said, "Nah, man, it's only on PlayStation." Oh, dang, that sucks. And he's like, "Oh, well." I said, "Dude, you can come over. We can play it. You can come over and watch. We'll tear people apart, rip them in half. Um, look at the, you know what's.
Yeah.
Um, Last of Us is another example. I posted a video online of the opening, and one of my friends goes, "Oh my god, this game looks awesome. What is it on Xbox?" I said, no,
Nope.
no, it's not. And they're like, well, it should be. I was like, it's never coming to Xbox. Like, PC's a different story. And I was like, it is never coming to Xbox. And like, well, they should share. I was like, what part of it's never coming to Xbox are you not understanding? It's a PlayStation game. This is before they were throwing all their games on PC. And just back then, yeah, like if you didn't have a Sega Genesis, you weren't playing Sonic. If you didn't have a Nintendo, you weren't playing Mario.
Yep.
Now they're both on the same console.
Yeah.
Blasphemy. Rest in peace, Dreamcast. I miss you every day. I'm looking at you right now. You're right there. That was such a sad day when they announced they weren't doing it anymore. I was upset. I was like, oh. Sega, what? Why would you do this to me? It's because PlayStation came out with their deep fancy smancy DVD player system and pretty much killed the Dreamcast. Thanks, PS2. Thanks.
Well, the one thing about what you said with the graphic, I did want to kind of note on because back then the games were still progressing and they were going pretty fast from, just the little pixel Pong to like Mario. And then you kept on going up and up and up. So back then, it's still the graphics were freaking chef's kiss when it came to it.
Yeah, I mean, look at Star Fox. Star
Yeah.
Fox was amazing. And I hate bringing it up again, but Resident Evil 2 should not have happened on the N64. That game shouldn't have happened, but it was a technical marvel that it even did happen. I'm going to do a review on that later. How do you take a game that's on 2 discs because it was so massive of a game they had to put it on 2 discs because of all the cutscenes, all the FMV cutscenes, they just mashed them all into one cartridge. I mean, it looked like garbage, but
Yeah.
it was like, holy crap, I actually pulled it off. I'm amazed. This is awesome. So yeah, the game shouldn't have happened. And it's just a lot of games like look at Perfect Dark. That game couldn't even run without a expansion pack. Like they released the expansion pack for certain games to, boost them. I think Rogue Squadron was one of them. Turok 2 was one of them. Resident Evil 2 was one of them. Donkey Kong 64 was required to have the expansion pack because I heard somewhere that the game wouldn't run properly without it. Perfect Dark, you couldn't do anything in that game without it. I bought it. I begged my mom to buy it. I said I want this game because I love GoldenEye so much, and she was pissed about the price being $60 because that's how much N64 games were most of the time. People want to complain about that now, about $60, $70. We were paying that much for N64 games back then, but a lot of them we bought used, so it really didn't matter. But she bought it, and the guy says, "Do you have an expansion pack?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, you really need one." I was like, "Sell me the game. I don't care."
Wait,
Get
the
home.
expansion pack, was that the memory card in the
No,
front?
no, no, no. It was the little red. I'd pull it out right now, but I can't get to the N64. It was this when you open up the N64, there's a little spot in the front that says expansion slot. And I guess they had been working on this for a while, and they released it, right? And it's this little pack that goes in the front of the N64. It's got a red top on it. If you looked it up, you'd
Yeah.
you'd see what it looks like. Yeah, that wasn't a memory that I know of. It was just to give the games a little bit of a boost. I guess more
Oh, I
RAM, if
didn't
you
know that.
will. So
I thought it
kind of
was
technically,
I thought
sort of,
it
yeah.
was yeah, I thought it was when I was like I had two of them. So I was like I thought it was a memory card. Like
Yeah,
that's how
no, no,
you
no,
saved. Oh crap,
no.
I still have my original N64, so I have two of those expansion packs.
Yeah, it was basically just to make the games run a little bit better, a little bit smoother. Like I said, some of them required them.
Yeah.
And the guy, when he told me that about Perfect Dark, I said, whatever. I get home, couldn't do anything. I could only play like the training modes. I said, oh, this is horse shit. And I told my mom, I said, hey, and this is after she nearly ripped my head off about the $60. I said, yeah, I do need that expansion pack that the guy was trying to sell us. And she goes, how much is that? I said, I forgot how much it was. I said, I think 30. And she goes, no, 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 no. You're gonna save your money up and get it yourself, kind of thing. So, I had to mow the yard and everything. And I remember we went to Blockbuster one day and they were selling Donkey Kong 64 with the expansion pack because they knew that they needed people needed it in order to play the game. And a lot of times, things like that they would not have kept in the box. Like if you wanted to buy Metal Gear Solid, I'm sorry, so Zone of the Enders. If you wanted to rent just the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo, they would not let you because they would say there's no demo in there. I'm like, yes, there is. I can hear the disc. Give me the demo. I want to rent it. I want to play it. So I'm surprised they even had the expansion pack in the box. Like that was another $30 that I ended up owing my mom because she bought that for me anyways, and I didn't get allowance for like a month because of that. I was happy though. I got to play Perfect Dark, so I didn't care.
So with like a closing for that, is there anything you would like to say about retro games that we didn't get to like touch on?
I'm just gonna go into a little bit of a not really rant, but the older games were made difficult on purpose. Lion King was made difficult on purpose
Aladdin.
Aladdin, so that you could rent it from Blockbuster every weekend and get stuck on the same damn levels, only to not beat the game because they did that on purpose. And a little story from what I heard, rumor. I don't know how true this is, but RoboCop 3 is one of those games. I could not get past the first freaking level because it was ridiculous. Um, I found out years later they said that one of the developers was mad at the people who were running the show, and they said, hey, we need you to blah, 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 blah. And the person was like, screw you, basically. And then they made the game hard on purpose. They did it on purpose so that you would not be able to beat the game. And it just, games like that, I didn't get to talk about it a little bit, but that is just something that brings back a lot of awesome memories, but a lot of horror memories because a lot of those games I would just get stuck on for so long. People are like, how did it take you 4 years to complete this game or that game? Because they were tough as hell. And one game in particular that still grinds my freaking gears is Jurassic Park on the SNES. I posted this on Twitter the other day, and a lot of people said the same thing. They didn't like it because of the fact there was no save battery or password system. Now, what that means, a save battery is like Legend of Zelda. The game saves at certain points. Donkey
Mhm.
Kong, the game saves at certain points. Sonic 3 had it too. The games will just save at certain points. Call that a save battery. Jurassic Park didn't have one of those. And you had to basically play the game in one go. Okay. When I finally bought the game, I had played the Sega Genesis one for so many years. Loved it. Awesome. Played the Nintendo one. Loved it. Awesome. Played the second game on SNES, which was a side scroller, which was awesome. I loved it. I played the first one and I'm like, what in the hell is this? I don't like this. I don't like this. It's too long. I don't know where I'm going. You could probably, like, speedrunners have completed the game in like 45 minutes. I am not going to try and do that. And just real quick, one day I was playing it. We were off from school because of tropical storm was coming through. So I was like, I'm just gonna play the game. My way of saving the game, leaving the console on.
Yeah.
That was how I saved the game. And I was playing this game all day. Again, printed up a large amount of paper from the printer that got me in trouble in my house, just to see, because we didn't have computers where we could just Google this stuff. You know, we had to go and I could have, but I had to print it up because the computer was not mine to use for all the time. So I'm playing through the game, getting further and further and further and further. My dad's like, "Hey, let's go get a haircut." Okay, left the system on, came back, played more and more and more and more and more. Power goes out. I'm right there close to the end. I said, and I swore I would never play that game again. To this day, I have never played that game again because of that. I was so upset. I was so pissed that I was like, I am never, ever doing this again. And if you didn't have a memory card in some of these games, some of these PlayStation games like I did, you had to do the same thing. Leave the system on, or the N64, leave the system on. So, real quick story. I'm doing yard work with my dad, and I'm playing through. Each time we have a little bit of a break, I go upstairs. I play a little bit of Metal Gear Solid. Like, I'm leaving the system on because I don't have a memory card. I'm getting further and further and further and further and further in the game. And if anybody's ever played this game, then you know that once you get to that communication tower, you're pretty deep into the game at that point. What happens? I come back up. Why is my PlayStation off? My sister was like, I wanted to play GoldenEye. I was like, you know I don't have a memory card for this game for the PS1, and you turned off my system. And she goes, so what? And I was like, so what? I'm trying to beat this game, damn it. And then I think I did like 2 days later. I think I finally completed it without a memory
Oh.
card. That's some of the feats that we had to do back then, was see how far we can get in these games without a memory card. And that it happened with Metal Gear Solid, Red Faction, which if you die in that game, it's game over. You start over, so you got to make sure you're saving every single few minutes in that game. And Resident Evil Remake. And when I died in Red Faction, I said, I need a memory card. When I died in Resident Evil, I got to the underground where the boulders are coming out. I got squished. I said, I need a memory card. I can't do this. I cannot play these games without a memory card. So we always got the systems first, and then got the memory cards later. But the good thing about N64 is you really don't need one. I think the only time you need one, no, I can't tell you. I don't know really when you need one. Actually, you know what? I think my Resident Evil 2 might need one because I got a memory card in the console, in the controller right now. I'm looking at it. So I don't know what the hell games are saved on it, but I know certain games do require it. I just can't tell you which ones because every time I play the things in there. Um, but yeah, no. Anything else? Anything else that you want to ask about retro before we move on?
No, I think that was actually pretty good with the we got a decent amount of information from you.
I didn't rant. I didn't rant. I mean, I do want to do more. Like, there's a vast amount of systems that we can cover, and I do want to have another episode like where we say, hey, what is the like some of the best Super Nintendo games of all time? And that's kind of when I want to get my friend on to talk about, because she plays some obscure games on her streams,
Yeah.
and I really want to talk about some of the obscure games of her, like, you know, things that we've never heard of. Like, I did not know there was a Pokemon game on the Sega Genesis. There is.
Huh?
There is a Pokemon game on the Sega Genesis. I think it was only in Japan, though, not here. I think it might have been before Nintendo came in and like took over.
Pretty cool. I'm gonna have to look that up after this now.
Yeah, she was playing it. And I was like, wait, Pokemon on Genesis? And everybody was saying the same thing. I'm
Pokemon
like, what?
on Sega. I'm gonna star that so I can come back to it. Heck yeah. So I guess we're getting to the modern stuff now.
Yes. So I guess same thing you asked me, but for you, what do you feel are some of your favorite parts about playing modern games?
It's kind of the same thing as what you said with like, not really nostalgia. I use gaming as pretty much therapy. I delve into a game and create this like fantasy life and these I know I get to know these fantasy characters and I get really pulled into a really good story. For me, that is the best form of therapy because life can suck.
Mhm.
So if I'm able to become the strongest person or whatever, it really helps me just mentally. When it comes to like RPGs, like you were saying, open world, like it's just too much for you.
I
For
mean, not
me,
always, not always. Just if I
yeah,
have like 5 open world games at a time that I'm playing, yeah, it's a little much. I gotta
yeah.
pick one and choose one and play one at a time.
Yeah, but for me, like I'm the same way. I'll stay on that open world. Like I'll obsess with it for a good amount of time. I might burn myself out, but I'm gonna because I want to do everything. I want to complete all the side quests and collect all the stuff and max out my weapons and armor or whatever kind of game I'm playing. Um, I feel like that repetition and that structure really is something that I don't have in my own life, and I need that kind of structure with me. Um, I do the graphics are always a good thing because the more real it is to me, I think the better the therapy because it's like okay, it's kind of hitting home, especially certain storylines or like arcs or whatever like that. You can really visualize what's going on and feel the emotion, especially when like you get close ups of the faces and like they're just like distraught
Yeah,
or something, you're like, oh my goodness. It's like watching a movie and it makes you feel like you're part of it.
yeah. One thing I will say about modern games, the story heavy ones can really get you here.
Yeah.
Last of Us Part One or Last of Us One, the first one, was definitely one of those games where I was not expecting the beginning. Sorry, one of those itches. I was not expecting the beginning that would happen at the beginning. I was like, oh my god! And so the first time I was just in like shock, like, oh, jeez, I can't believe they just did that. And then now when I play through the game more, like I get sad.
Yeah.
I get sad when I get to that point. And God of War 2018 really didn't make me feel that way, but I know some people that were emotional about some of the scenes between Atreus and Kratos. But the
Mm.
one that fucking got me, oh my god, Spider-Man. Spider-Man got me big time with the. Can we talk about it since it's been like what 4 years since the game came out, or
Yes,
should I
we
still
can
hold off?
talk about it.
All right, the scene with Aunt May. I was not expecting that to happen. Like it got me good. Like I was like, holy shit, jeez. And I was not streaming this. I was playing this like just on my own, off stream. Um, and then when I did when I did stream it once, I had other people watching, and I didn't feel it then because I was talking to people as it was going on.
Mhm.
And then I streamed it again in 2020, and that's when it was like I could, I was trying to hold back. So it really gets to me, but that is a game I can't play it. I'm actually trying not to right now because my aunt passed away last year. So getting to that scene is just gonna be tough as shit. That's why
Yeah.
I'm like, do I want to stream this again, knowing that scene's just gonna kill me when I get to it?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where if I do end up streaming it and I start feeling myself getting to that point, I'm just gonna close the camera, mute the mic, go away for a bit, and then come back. It's just, I wasn't expecting it. So games like that, it really gets you. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 both had scenes like that. If you played Red Dead, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the first one, not Red Dead Revolver, which is technically the first one, but Red Dead Redemption. When you get to the end, and they're like, "Come out, Marston or Marsters, whatever his name was, John Marston. Is it Marston? I think it's
I
John
think it was
Marston."
Mars. Yeah.
And I'm thinking of James Marsters, Cyclops. So they're like, "Come out," and you're in the bar, and I'm like, "I don't want to. I 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 don't want to," because I know exactly what's gonna happen. And then you open the doors, it's like, okay, Deadeye, 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 Deadeye. I'm taking some of you bastards with me. And then, you take out like 3 or 4, and then they light his ass up, and you're like, oh, I just knew this was going to happen. But the son gets revenge later on, if you keep playing after the game's done, he gets revenge. But then it comes to animals in games, modern games. Nope.
Ah,
Nope. Nope. Nope.
I hate
Nope.
it. I hate
Nope.
killing them. I hate
Nope.
hunting them. Don't make that a side mission.
Nope.
I don't care. I hate
Um,
it too.
what was it? Red Dead 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 with the horse. I
Oh
felt more
no.
sad about that than Arthur's death. I was like, whatever, Arthur. I knew you were gonna go because you're not in the first game, so I knew you were gonna go at some point. I'm trying to think of another game where the pet. Usually, it's in movies when they do that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I Am Legend or
Oh
something
God,
like
don't even get
that.
me started. I had a German Shepherd at that time, and
Such a
I
bad
can't
part.
watch that movie. I can't watch that scene. It reminds me of him, my dog, and every time I watch it, I'm like, I can't,
I
I
know
can't, I
it's
can't, I
so
can't.
messed up.
Um, I can't really think of another game that had like you animals getting hurt or something. But yeah, no, like you said, I hate doing it.
Yeah.
I hate
A
having
lot of
to
those,
kill them or anything.
what is it? Assassin's Creed games, there's some that you have to do that for like pelts and stuff like that or specific missions. Um,
If it's a
I'm playing
shark, I don't care.
another
If it's a
game.
predator trying to kill me, I don't. Whatever.
Oh yeah, screw a shark. Like
Go kill
but
50 rabbits. No, I don't want to.
yeah. Another one, what is it? Like Dragon Age? I know Inquisition, the third one, there's some animals that you can kill and you get to get their hides and stuff to make stuff, but that can be kind of rough too. Anything that's like realistic
Yeah.
animal, I'm gonna be upset about.
Well, even non-human characters like in if you play Mass Effect.
I have not.
Okay, I won't talk about it. I won't say who. There's a character in the third game that sacrifices himself, and I'm just like, I just sat
No.
through a whole game with you in Mass Effect 2, getting your loyalty missions, and you're going to go and just kill sacrifice yourself. And he's crying, the character's crying and everything. I'm like, God damn it, guys, why? You gotta do this to me. It sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. I was like, oh my God. So anytime
You
somebody
get to
posts a
know them.
meme, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, when you get to know, it's like you get to know these characters, and they're
Yeah.
so great at telling stories now, in video game format. So you just really get to
Yeah.
know these people in this world, and you have done all these missions with them, and you've gone through all these ups and downs, and then you lose them, or they turn
Yeah.
into a villain, or something like that. You're just like,
Yeah. I will say, okay. Um, some games have those twists and turns. Like the you're so invested in the story. I know Call of Duty is not a game that is really story heavy, but in
yeah,
Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2, not the new one, the original one, you're going through, you're invested in these characters, and there's one mission you're trying to get away because they're. Have you played Modern Warfare 2?
yes,
Okay, so you probably know what I'm gonna be talking about here in a second. You're going. You're following Ghost, and then you're like, okay, helicopter's here. Let's get in there, and freaking Shepard just shoots your ass, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
yep,
This fool just Lance Henriksen just turned on me.
uh-huh,
That's the actor that did the voice. I'm like, he just turned on me, shot me, and then shot Ghost. What the hell, man? Come on.
yep,
I was so shocked. I was like, whoa. Was not expecting that to happen. So
ultimate betrayal.
yeah, and I'm trying to think of some other games that have done that. Like, I mean, when it comes to the retro stuff, when you found out Wesker was a bad guy in Resident Evil, you're like, oh, well, I knew something was shady about this guy wearing sunglasses at night.
He's a jerk.
Um, I'm trying to think of some other games that did that twist. Can we talk about it? Last of Us Part 2, since it's been out for 2 years.
I haven't played it. I know.
Okay.
You can't.
Well,
I want to play the first one and then do the second one.
well, okay. So I didn't tell you exactly what happened in the first one. Then good.
Yeah.
Second one has the exact same type of situation where you're just playing like, ah, la, la.
Oh,
Do
I got one. Dead Space, the first one.
okay. Which part?
That's got the okay. So the blonde chick that's been acting all like victim and saying that Hammond, no stuff and stuff like that. She's a bad guy the whole time. You don't get to know it until the end. You're like, hey, how dare you?
You talking about Nicole or the other one?
No, Nicole's the one that's your imagination. The other
Imagination. Sorry. Oh yeah, the one that's been helping you the whole time.
helping you the whole time. Yes.
Helping. Yeah. Hang on. Let me see if I got any other games that have.
Because that was definitely a twist. I freaked out when she came out to be part of the unis or whatever. And well, she wasn't a uni, she was the government trying to cover up what the unis did. I was so upset.
Can we talk about God of War 2018?
Yeah.
Okay. When you get to the end of that fucking game, one of my friends says, "Oh my god, that ending," and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get." He didn't say what happened. I get to the end of the game, and I'm fairly close to the end, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna beat this game tonight. Find out what happened at the end. You beat the final boss, and I'm like, that really wasn't anything. But then they're like, okay, go to this top part. I'm like, okay, going up the stairs, and there's this tarp covering one of the drawings, and the tarp blows away. Well, after Kratos and Atreus go through, the tarp blows away. And I'm sitting there going, what's the big deal? Yeah, it was a cool ending, cool boss fight. And then Atreus goes, it says I was a giant and that my name was, and he just stops. I'm like, don't. And he goes, Loki. I'm like, and the whole time I'm watching these credits, my jaw is just down. Like, I'm like, what the hell? Like, the whole time I'm watching the whole credits, my jaw is just on the floor. And then it says, go back home. I was like, oh, sure, I'll go back home and see what's going on here. You go home, next cutscene plays, and Kratos is like yelling out, who are you? And then they see the cloak go back and the hammer. I'm like, oh, it's Thor. Thor's coming in the second game. And there is a very, very funny segment in the beginning of Ragnarok. I'm not going to talk about it. If you happen to see my short tomorrow, you will see what I'm talking about. I was like, damn, I was not expecting that to happen. It was during a boss fight. I was like, okay. I was not expecting that to happen, but it did. And it was pretty funny. So I'm trying to see if I got any other games that kind of had that, like, oh my god, twist ending moment. I mean, would you really consider something like Until Dawn having you like Until Dawn had a twist. Until Dawn had a twist when you think Josh is dead. You're like, oh, he just got his guts cut open and spilled out. I'm like, well, he's dead. And he shows up. I'm like, holy crap, he's alive and he's the bad guy. Okay. Freddie Mercury's trying to kill me.
Well, he's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just off his meds.
No, yeah. He's not really a villain. He's just, his sister's died and he's like, he snapped and everything. Yeah. So, like you said, he's off his meds. So, very twisty ending. There's actually one of those in The Quarry. I won't talk about it, but there's one in The Quarry also where I was not expecting it. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I streamed Until Dawn, and of course I want it's Rami. I'll call him Rami because that's his name. The actor's name. I did not want to kill him in that scene. I was totally for the chick. I was just like, kill her. Like, I don't want the brother to die. He's gone through so much. And then when it switched over and the blade killed him, I was like, I lost.
It does it. It does it automatically, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No matter who you choose, it was gonna go to him anyway.
BioShock. We need PBD here for this, but BioShock had one of those twists where you get to the very end and you see Andrew Ryan. I'm going to talk about this game. It's been well over 10 years since it's been out. And you beat the crap out of Andrew Ryan. You're like, damn, I just knocked this. He's dead. And then you find out, have you played BioShock? Am I spoiling this for you?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I've watched her play BioShock.
You find out that Fontaine, the guide, has been helping you the whole time is actually the bad guy, and he keeps saying, "Would you kindly?" I'm like, son of a bitch, I fell for it. I fell for it, and this guy is just, yeah, it's just like some of these games, like the twists and the turns, and just so much going on. But question you asked me, because you mentioned the graphics. Did you talk about the quality of
Okay, so
games?
yeah, well, not really. The quality is hit or miss, but I think that's for either or, retro or modern. It really just depends on um how it was produced, and of course the storylines and stuff like that. So that could be hit or miss for either one. Um, because I mean you can find one that has a great concept, but it's just there's no depth to it whatsoever. Some things are just too many glitches or something like that. You still get that even in modern games.
Cyberpunk. They're not
How
gonna be able to.
dare thee?
They're not gonna be able to live that one down. Like,
No,
I was not hyped for that game. I was gonna get it.
me neither.
I was gonna get it anyways, just because I love Blade Runner, and I was like, this game looks like Blade Runner mixed with Johnny Mnemonic mixed with Judge Dredd. So I was gonna play it either way. But the fact that people were so shocked that the game was full of glitches after it had been in development for over 10 years, no, about
It was a
8 years. It
while.
was a while. It was
Yeah.
announced in 2012. I did not know that. I didn't first hear about the game until, or maybe I did, and my subconscious just kind of drowned it out and didn't think about it, because the Witcher 2 was the new game at the time.
Mm.
But it came out, it was announced in 2012, and it just kept, oh, it's coming out this month, or it's coming out this year, into this year, this year, this year. Honestly, they should have just canceled Xbox One and PS4 versions, because those are the ones that had the most trouble. I haven't had too much trouble playing it on the PS5 version. It runs pretty fine, but yeah, I had some major issues playing it on my launch PS4. It was constantly, I had at one point the game froze, and I was like, "What's going on? Why is my game frozen?" It was loading the character's hair into the game, like he's bald, and the game just stops. I'm like, "Huh?" And it just loads the hair. I'm like, "Oh, that's annoying." So I didn't
It's
play it.
important.
Yeah, I did not play it for the longest time because of the glitches and the fact that people were so surprised by it, because everybody, I don't know if you remember this, but I was kind of paying attention to a little bit of it when it first released, and reviewers were giving it like horrible scores. Like, they were just
Yeah.
tanking it. And people who were hyping the game were like, "Oh, you don't know, you didn't play the game, blah, blah, this and that." And the game came out, and then those people were like, "Oh, crap, maybe they were
Well, if
right.
you
This
can't
game is."
physically play the game.
Yeah. So people were, they just kind of realized, oh, we kind of jumped to conclusions, and the game's actually kind of a mess. I mean, Days Gone had a bit of a rocky start too. Thing with that game though was that they advertised it differently than what the game was. Like, people went into it expecting something like Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
got this other thing, and what, I don't know the whole reason why people didn't like it. I just heard that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And then when it came out for PC, everybody's like, "Oh, we love this game. We wanted Days Gone too." Tough shit, it ain't happening because y'all didn't buy it the first time. So Sony's moved on. Will we get a second one? I don't know. Hopefully one day. Um, my only gripe about that, some modern games really, is that patches can be crazy. Like, that was
Mhm.
one game where every time I put the disc in, patch update, patch update, patch
Call of
update.
Duty.
And some of these patch, if I'm not hooked in to the hardwire on my router, the updates will take up to 3 hours just to complete. And that
Yep.
was my old internet. My new internet is probably a lot faster now, but everything's hardwired in, because I'm like, I'm not sitting here waiting 2 hours just to play a game. I'd rather just
No.
connect straight to the router and go through.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, especially when consoles now have day one updates too, and you
Yep.
can't. What I love about retro, you just hook it up, pop in the game, and play. You don't have to worry about updates or anything like that.
Not
Um,
only the console, it's now the controller updates
exactly. Yeah, PS.
and the
Yep,
game updates.
yep. Back then, if you got a broken game, you got a broken game. You could not go back and you had to take it right to the store. Hey, the game's messed up. It's not working. So that was something there. I guess I would ask you, what are some of the difficulties? I would say, as a gamer and a streamer, what are some of the difficulties that you find with modern games? I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'm gonna think about my answer.
Um, for the streaming wise, it could be so if I'm using my consoles, I have PC, all up to date consoles, stuff like that. It would probably be like using Elgato and trying to stream the quality in which the system can, because you can't. You're not going to get the quality from the system and be able to stream it that way. It's just impossible. So that to me is frustrating. Um, but for most of the time, it's really not that hard. The systems themselves can stream by themselves.
Except
The
Switch.
PC, except for the Switch, and it's okay. um, but like Elgato's, if some any other kind of like streaming capture cards and stuff like that, they're usually pretty simple to use. I had to go through maybe one or two of them before I found the right ones that would work with all of my systems. Um, but other than that, pretty much plug and play as long as there's no updates.
Yeah.
Um, but really, yeah, it's not that difficult. I mean, I have my retro stuff packed away, but if I have the adapters for the HDMI like you do and stuff like that. So I could just plug them and play as well because I have everything set up like I need it to be. But if there's an update, like we were talking about earlier before we started recording, it messes everything up.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to reset your sound and your mic and everything else.
Yeah.
But that's what, couple minutes, 10 minutes max of fixing everything, and then you're good to go.
Well, I mean, unless it's like I said, a Mac update,
Oh, yeah.
which happened
Don't use
in
Mac.
2020. They updated them. They had a Mac update, and OBS just stopped working. Like, it would open, but then it would crash. And I was like, "What is going on?" And people said, "Oh,
Ugh.
it's because you have browser sources. You need to just get rid of all of them." I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna get rid of my scenes. I had worked so hard on those scenes, and I was like, you know, forget it. I don't want them." So most of my stuff does not have. It's very limited on browser sources because I stream to YouTube now. I don't need all the fancy bells and whistles that people do on Twitch streams. Like, I see all these Twitch streams now. I'm like, half the half the page is covered in like graphics and spinning things and
Oh, I
emojis
can't do that.
and gifs, and I'm like, good God, like, where's the actual game at? Um,
No. I usually do it's the game and then me in the corner. Like
yeah,
I'd want the game to be like the first thing.
yeah, and I get it. They're trying to be flashy and everything, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's just too much. I'm like, just you don't need all of this stuff going on. And I tried doing that, and I was like, this isn't really helping me. It's just making things look cluttered. So I got rid of it. As for me, when it comes to modern games, yeah, I was gonna touch up on the Elgato thing. When you hook up an Elgato to any system, the picture is not going to be the exact same. So it'll look bright as hell, perfect color, perfect everything on your monitor. But then when you see it in Elgato, it's like darker. So there've been a few
Yeah.
games. Retro is pretty bad about this. Um, 3 games: Resident Evil, yes, again. Director's Cut, Suffering, and then Resident Evil Outbreak. I've played all 3 of them with the Elgato, and I had to adjust the brightness quite a bit on because you can't do it on those older games. The only thing it said was, "Oh, adjust your TV," and I'm like, I don't want to adjust my TV. I just want the game to be brighter. So that's one thing I love about OBS is that you can go in and say, I just want to adjust the gamma, which is just everything at once. And it'll make it a little bit brighter. And some games I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I tell people I'm sorry it's a little bright, but I had to adjust the brightness. Otherwise, y'all would not have been able to see anything. And I
Yeah.
was recording some episodes of Resident Evil Outbreak, and I'm looking at my screen compared to the preview, and I'm like, wow, I can't see a damn thing on here, but I can see it clearly over there. But over here, I'm like, I think that's a person, a zombie. I can't tell. Oh, it's a dog. Okay. So that's one thing I don't like about the capture cards and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was told, when I started streaming, my friend said, "Hey, just Elgato is the way to go." And yeah, there's people who say, "No, you don't need Elgato. You don't even need a capture card to even record your footage. But for
True, but
me, as a retro gamer, I kind of do.
yeah.
There's no way that I don't, as far as I know, there's not a way to get my Super Nintendo to be on my TV, on my monitor, and then captured inside of my OBS. Like people who say that, I guess they just one person actually flat out admitted it. I didn't know how to work in Elgato, and it's like it's not that hard. Just plugging one in, unless he was plugging it in the wrong way. It's
There's an
really
in and out.
there's really no hard way. There's no difficult way to hook that thing up. Yeah, I had a little trouble at first with their software, which I don't use anymore because the software was just
Yeah.
garbage. I don't even think it works on my computer anymore. And I used it for the longest time because the Mac would not let you use OBS or Streamlabs or any of those. So I was like, well, shoot. I guess I have to use the Elgato software, which got the job done, but it was not the best, and I couldn't do all the fancy bells and whistles. Now I don't even care about the fancy bells and whistles. I just have my green screen with me in the bottom corner, and then all the game. If anybody happens to sub and their thing's public, it'll pop up and say, "Oh, so and so subscribe to your channel." That's
Yeah.
it. That is it. I don't have anything else. As far as like when new games come out, as a streamer, the difficulties probably are everybody and their mother's playing that same game.
Yeah.
So I remember a friend of mine told me early on in my stream, like when I first started in 2019, I said I really want to stream Resident Evil 2 because it was new at the time, the remake. And he says, "Well, all the big boys and girls are gonna be streaming that too, so you probably shouldn't." I said, "Well, I'm gonna do it anyways because I don't care." And I didn't. I played through the whole game on a stream to an audience of probably nobody, probably just myself, but I had fun with it. But then I
Yeah.
realized, when these new games come out, yeah, everybody and their mom is playing it. Like right now, I think I told you it's like what 640,000 people watching God of War Ragnarok right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, no, and that's Twitch. I don't even know how many are on YouTube, but it's one of those games. This is another thing. Maybe it's the same as you. I will not stream a brand new game right off the bat. I'm gonna kind of do that with Resident Evil 4 when it comes out because I promised my audience, but I don't want to sit there and wait for the. I don't want to play it off stream because I want to have the reactions be genuine. But you gotta deal with the fact that people might come in and just spoil the game for you. Now, if it's something like that, if it's a remake, it's fine if I kind of know what's going to happen, but this is a situation where it's probably going to have something different happening in it. Just like in the other remakes, they had different things happen in different areas, and it wasn't, shot for shot like the original. Not like, no, even Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes had some different cutscenes and everything. But you had that risk of somebody coming in and ruining it for you, which happened to me when I played Mafia Remaster or Mafia Remake. Somebody comes in, I was 5 minutes into the game, and they said, "Rest in peace, so and so, so and so, so and so, and so and so," and I was like, I'm not sure
You,
what you're talking
dude.
about, but let's keep the spoilers to a minimum." And he ended up actually, yes, he was spoiling the game for me because all the characters he named ended up dying in the game, and I was like, "How about we don't do that? Thanks." Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you're like this about spoilers, but if it's a game I've played before, and somebody else comes in and they're a fan of the game too, and they said, "Oh, like when I played Walking Dead season 1, they came in and said, "Oh, well, they're about to have what's his face for dinner because they're cannibals." I said, "Hey, let's kind of keep the spoilers to not at all because yes, I played the game, but other people in the chat have not, and I really
Yeah.
want to leave that uh surprise to them. I don't want them to know what's going to happen beforehand."
Yeah. I feel you on that one. Like the only game I think that would be okay with playing like day of, like everybody else will be, is like Pokemon. Because you know the formula.
Yeah.
If you've been playing them as long as I have from the beginning, you know the formula of the game, so it really doesn't matter. It's just
Yeah.
your reactions that people want to see in general. But like if it's a huge story-driven game, like there could be multiple endings, or you could do a couple of other things, but it's still, some people still die or whatever. Um, I usually wait to stream it. Like I won't even play it. Like I'll buy it maybe day of, but then I will wait a couple of weeks because that's when everybody's kind of like done their thing, played it, beat it. Um, and I will say this is my first playthrough. I'm starting it. I know it came out a while ago, but I don't want to be like everybody else
Yeah.
and be on this game at the same time as everybody. But I want to be genuine with my reactions. And I don't get, let me knock on wood somewhere. I don't think I have any. Oh, I do.
I did it
I
for
don't
you.
get I don't get a lot of spoilers at all. I think my mods kind of are pretty good at policing that too.
Yeah.
Like they'll see it in the chat and they'll block it. They're like, don't do that. Like just don't do it because she's really into the game. You see that where she's quiet, she's listening to the actual story and them talking to each other and stuff like that. It's like, sorry guys, I really want to know what's going on here. I don't want to miss it. And I want to
Yeah.
be able to communicate with you too,
Yeah.
but don't tell me what happens.
Yeah. And I don't really get people except for that one time. I really don't have people spoiling. I just get a lot of trolls. When I
Yeah.
play God of War, I think I told you this when I played it in 2018 version. I played it last no, it wasn't 2018. It was God of War 3. I was playing through all of them because I was wanting to lead up to Ragnarok, which didn't come out last year. And somebody comes in the chat and they're just being a jerk and they're backseat gaming, and that's another problem. They come in and they're like telling me, "Oh, do this, not play this, not play that, and I'll do this minigame, I'll do that minigame," and I ignore it because I'm like, the mods will take care of this. I ignore it,
Yeah.
and the thing that got them going was they said there is no God of War 4. They said it's a shame that the last God of War game came out in 2012. I said, "What are you talking about? There's God of War 2018," and they said, "Oh, that game doesn't exist. It never happened." I'm like, "Oh, okay, you're one of those. Okay."
Oh, yeah.
So I made it a point to just start messing with them and I kept saying, "Yeah." So next time I play God of War 4, and they're like, "There is no God of War 4." Like they were getting mad,
Sounds like a
and
child.
so the mods were like, "Yeah, I heard PBD hadn't played it yet." She's like, "I haven't played it yet, but I heard God of War 2018 is great." And then one of my other friends is like, "Yeah, God of War 2018 is pretty great." And this person like, "There is no God of War 2018. There is no God of War 4." They're just getting mad. So she banned them, and they just messaged her, sort of ripping her apart, like, "Don't be a dick," you know.
Yeah.
And that's part of it with new games. And like you, I won't play them when they first come out. Like Dead Space remake, as much as I want to play it when it first comes out, I really would like to stream it. So I'm gonna hold off on that one because I already have games planned for stream in January. So like I said, Metal Gear Solid is gonna be for my birthday. Um, I'm actually, yeah, I'll talk about it later when we get into what's going on with our thing. But yeah, just new games in general. If it's not something that I absolutely positively want to play day one, I will not. Resident Evil is a different story. I have to play those day one every time I get them, no matter what. And so when 4 comes out, I'm actually going to be streaming it that Friday, not that Thursday. I think it comes out Friday. It comes out the same day as John Wick 4. Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Oh, damn, that's awesome. So, yeah, just that's some of the difficulties with new games. And then, like you said, the updates. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. You don't really have the difficulty of, oh, if you don't pre-order this, you'll never get it because games are available everywhere.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, there really isn't a problem with
they're
that.
available everywhere. The only time they're not available everywhere, and this has happened twice, was Deathloop and
Yeah.
WWE 2K22. I pre-ordered both of those games at GameStop, and when I went to pick them up, the same guy told me both times. He's like, "You're the only one that got a copy today." I said, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're the only one that pre-ordered it." Because I got the edition that came out like 2 or 3 days early, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna get that edition and play it there." Um, and speaking of pre-orders, I hate being asked to pre-order stuff when I'm just going to get something small like a gift card. Hey, your game's doing a pre-order? No, leave me alone.
Yeah, I
Like
will let you know.
a guy at GameStop actually asked me if I had Village pre-ordered. I said, yes, I do. He goes, mind if I ask where? I said, no, you may not ask where. It's none of your business where I pre-order my games from. It was Amazon. And he's like, oh, hey, what about Ratchet and Clank? Pre-ordered. May I ask where? No, you can't. Just freaking give me my Returnal so that I can leave and go bye-bye. Thank you.
There are some games that like I don't think I would want to stream that I will play day of, but only for my personal just entertainment.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty much like any Harvest Moon or Story of Season game, something that brings me back to my childhood in general.
Yeah.
Like those kind of games that are like repetitious and like you're not doing anything special for days on end in the game. Animal Crossing will probably be another one because like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stream that. Everybody streams that. I understand it's really relaxing. But that's something that I definitely use for relaxing in general.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to have to talk to anybody when I'm playing this
Oh yeah.
game.
No, no,
Stardew
absolutely.
Valley is another one. Like don't talk to me. I am totally in the zone and I'm just zoning out, literally, and playing an awesome game. So those I wouldn't stream ever, pretty much. But maybe like first day I Assassin's Creed, I might play like first day release. Um, Only because I love those games. And it's something
Mhm.
that has the action and it's not all repetitious and it has the story. But something that I'm gonna be just like drooling out of the side of my mouth. I'm not going to be streaming that at all. And I'll
Yeah.
play that day of. Yeah.
Yeah. Like back to the God of War. Like I knew I wasn't going to stream it, and I told my chat that a couple weeks ago. I said I was planning on it, and I said, you know what? I really don't want to stream that game day of or when it releases because I knew everybody and their damn mom was going to be streaming that game. So I was like,
Yeah.
nah. I said if I play it, it's going to be New Game Plus, and it'll be months down the road. I just want to enjoy the game on my own because again, like I said, you got those people who will come in and spoil it just to be a jerk, and I really just don't want that happening. Like I'd rather just play the game first and then go through it again on stream. On a New Game
Yeah.
Plus when I have everything. So that way I'm not grinding and doing a bunch of unnecessary crap on stream. That's and you mentioned earlier burnout. That is another difficulty for me with newer games is burnout sometimes. Horizon Zero Dawn, amazing game, loved it up until the DLC, and then I hated that game. I hated the DLC. It was boring. It was stupid. It was just one trial after another. I'm like, if I had known this was just going to be a training thing, I would have skipped the entire DLC. It was not fun. I was excited for it, and I was like, this is not fun. Because it wasn't after, some DLCs there after the game or anything. This was in the middle of the game, and I kid you not, when I finished that DLC, I was probably 2 missions away from the end of the actual game, and I
And
felt
you were
so
like, never
dumb. I was
mind.
like, no, no, I finished it, but I was like, you got to be kidding me. I could have just finished the game and been done with it, and then I would have played the DLC and been like, I don't care about this, and stopped playing it. The fact that
Yeah.
I didn't finish the game is why I wanted to get through the DLC so bad because I wanted to actually finish the game. It took me 4 years to just finally get back into that game and complete it. Same with Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey.
Hmm.
I finally completed both of those damn games after so many years, and it took so long because there's so much to do in those games, and I'm afraid Valhalla is gonna be the same way. Like I started that game, I got a decent chunk into it, and then when I got to PS5, I was like, I'm gonna start the whole game over. I could have transferred my save, but my mind was like, we want to see everything in fancy schmancy PS5 graphics. Like Watch Dogs Legion has been started, and it's been started. Never went anywhere after that. It's sitting on the shelf back there. Watch Dogs 2 took me forever because I just got burnt out on those games. Ubisoft games, I love them sometimes, but sometimes you just get burnt the hell out. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't even started Far Cry 6 because of it. I was like, I just know this game's going to be a damn chore to get through and do so much stuff. It's just that there's so many other games that I was playing that I just need to get through some of these games first and then jump into that one. But my brain when I'm playing some of these games, I'm like, oh, I really wish I was playing this game instead, or I wish I was playing that game instead, or I wish I was playing that game
Yeah.
instead. Trying to think what happened recently. My poor Xbox. My poor Xbox. I'm sorry. Every time I'm playing it, I'm just like, I wish I was playing my PS5 right now.
You're cheating on
But
it.
I really want to get back into Halo Infinite. You know,
Yeah.
I want to get back into that and finish it. I just don't know if and or when I ever will. So I purposely buy games on Xbox to stream them or to basically play my Xbox. Like I got what the heck did I get? Dishonored. I got on Xbox. Dishonored 1, 2, and then the third one or the DLC one, Prey, Outer Worlds, BioShock Collection, Dead Island because my wife wanted to play that. Um, Dead Rising, different story because that's mainly Xbox anyway, so it didn't matter. But like so many games I got on the Xbox so that it would give me a reason to play the system. I look at my PS5, I'm like, damn, I got a lot of games there, and none of them are being played right now. So, yeah, it's just that's one of the difficulties too is picking which system you want to get the game for.
Yeah,
Do you want it on Xbox or do you want it on PlayStation? When it comes to GoldenEye, do you want multiplayer, online multiplayer, or do you want pretty graphics?
pretty graphics.
So if you want the pretty graphics, you don't get the online multiplayer because they're not
I'm
giving
okay
that
with
to
that.
Xbox. I'm cool with it too. Like
Yep.
if I want somebody to play the game with me, just come over to my damn house. We'll play it like we used to back in the '90s. You know, that's how we used to do
Yep.
it. So do we want to talk about the pros and the cons, or did we kind of cover that already?
We kind of covered that. We kind of went back and forth with what's kind of good and what's kind of bad about
Okay.
them.
All right, then I guess you want to jump on. Do you have any final thoughts on modern gaming?
Um, I mean, I'm not really that biased. I still go back to my retro games, my childhood games. It's more like that sounds like it's a better name for it. So my childhood games I still go back to. I still play them. I still enjoy them. I don't care if the graphics are not that great. Um, and then I can always get into a modern game and just be totally chill with
Yeah.
those new graphics and the story and how big and massive the games are now. Like I can get down with that too. But it's just I do get wowed by the graphics. I liked the argument of, peach fuzz on a chick's face. Like that's great detail.
You talking
Like
about Aloy?
yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
so ridiculous. Like, get over it, guys.
I appreciate the detail because it's realistic. Like
Yeah.
you don't have clean shaven face in the middle of what looks like Stone Age times. Like
Yeah.
that's not what's gonna happen. So yeah, I like stuff like that, just the wow factor of it all. And especially when they use people as the actors and you know them from like movies and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
The
Um,
Go ahead. I was going to say something real quick
no, go
about
ahead.
actors. So, speaking of actors, the kid from God of War 2018 is still the same voice actor for Atreus in the second game. I was like, damn, he's gotten older since the last game. But the actress that plays Freya was on a show that used to be on Nickelodeon. And I'm watching it and I'm like, because I saw that on Twitter. I was like, who is that? That's the voice of Freya. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, damn, she used to be on Nickelodeon. That's pretty cool. Um, Obviously, Christopher Judge is he's from Stargate SG-1. He plays Kratos now. And it's just some of the when we talk about dialogue, some of the dialogue between these characters is just there's a scene in the second one where Atreus is imitating Kratos, and I'm just like, that shit's funny. That is funny. That is hilarious. Clip going on YouTube. Um, but yeah, like you said about jumping back into them, like I could play a modern game, like I could play God of War for a couple hours and then jump back into hook on my Vita and play Metal Gear Solid and just feel no difference about it because I grew up with those games. So I understand that people who didn't, they jump into them and they're like, oh, gross, ugly graphics. Like somebody once told me, I hate to bring up Resident Evil again, but this happened in two different Resident Evil streams. Somebody said, how can you play this game with the live action cutscenes? And I said, that was the style of the time. A lot of
Hmm.
CD based games had live action cutscenes. It was cool. I mean, have they aged properly or aged well? No, they have not. They're awful these days. But that was what we had back then. It was awesome to play a movie based game and have cutscenes showing scenes from the movie, like not GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, Bugs Life, Toy Story. I think that was it. That's all I can think of right now. Um, that one, and then somebody else asked me, how can you play these old Resident Evil games? The controls are garbage. And I said, well, I've been playing these games for a long time,
Yeah.
and they are very easy to control to me. So me and my friends who love these games, they're easy to control for us. Like I said, those games are not for everybody. These older games are not for everybody. Just saying. You look at Metal Gear Solid 1, and they almost have no faces, no eyes, no mouth. Well, they have a mouth, but they're talking and their heads are just going, like,
Yeah.
their heads are moving. They're talking, but their heads are just
Yeah. They're bobbling.
they're just bobbling, you know? Which is what was so amazing about Metal Gear Solid 2 was that it was just lifelike. You're just like, oh my god, these graphics are so real. This is great. And you look at it now. I mean, you look at Metal Gear Solid 2 now, and even Snake Eater, you're like, damn, these games still hold up. Not every
Yeah.
game from back then holds up. Like,
No.
some of them still hold up today, but some of them are just like, oh, gross. Ugh, burn it, send it to hell. Yeah, I don't really have any
Tomb
pros and
Raider.
cons about it. Tomb Raider does not hold up, but the remake,
No.
not the reboot, the remake, the anniversary edition holds up pretty well. I do like that one. I like that one. I really want to go back and play not the old games, but the ones that were on Xbox 360. So Legend, Underworld, and Anniversary, because all three of those kind of intertwine into each other, and they play like the old Tomb Raider games where you have to go and find treasures and everything. Not like the reboot where it was like Uncharted-ish,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
You still solving puzzles, but it was more like an Uncharted game to me. Simple as that. But yeah, that's about all I have on modern games and retro games.
Yeah. That was actually pretty decent. Got some news though.
Yes. So let's get into the video game releases first. We have, well, I've talked about it quite a bit on the episode already, but God of War Ragnarok has released. So at the time of recording this, has been out for almost a week. It is awesome. I love it. It's great. I've only played about 2, 3, I don't know, a lot. But it is a lot like the first one. So I will say that control wise, gameplay wise, it is a lot like the first game. So there's not much different. I see why people were calling it glorified DLC or DLC of war, just saying dumb things like that. I could see where they're getting that idea. All right.
Got this out. Pause.
So yeah, I see why people were calling this glorified DLC, because it kind of does feel like it in a way, but there are trying to find some differences, but there's a lot of the same stuff that happens in this game. So it's almost like an expansion. Like I always say, if you have the assets, why not use them? Why not just use the engine that you already have, make a new game? Don't worry about making all this other fancy stuff, because it would have taken them longer if they just made a whole new game engine and everything. They figured, what the heck, we'll just use the same thing. God of War 1 and 2 had the same game engine. God of War 3 and Ascension had the same game engine. So, it's like, we don't need to, have the latest and greatest. I mean, the game's still still fun either way. But yeah, a lot of the gameplay is still the same. Like, you still have a boat that travels through certain areas to get to certain things. And yesterday I just got to this giant whale looking thing, which was essentially like the dragon in the first game, the serpent or whatever, that would lower the water as you went through the area. So a lot of that's kind of the same too. But like I said, still a fun game. I'm still enjoying every bit of it. Like I said before, it is not a game I'm going to stream right now. I'm just having more fun playing it off stream. That way I can enjoy all the surprises on my own. Also releasing last week was Sonic Frontiers, finally out. I played a whole 30 minutes of that game, and then I stopped because God of War came out. No,
Yeah.
I actually like what I played of Sonic Frontiers, and I will stream that one. That's probably one of the reasons why I am not going to jump back into it just yet. I want to stream it sometime later down the road. But yeah, that really, there's not a whole lot of releases coming out that I know of. Nothing big coming out. As for gaming stuff, we have the Game Award nominations were announced today. So, contenders for, and if you're not familiar with this, is the Game Awards, a show on not Spike TV. I don't think Spike TV is a thing anymore. I think
It's not.
it's not. Okay, good. I think this is something they show online with Gehoff Knightley or Keeley, whatever his name is, guy from G4. So contenders for Game of the Year are Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, go figure, God of War Ragnarok, go figure, Horizon Forbidden West, go figure,
Figure.
Stray, surprisingly, Stray,
Ooh, okay.
Xenoblade Chronicles. Speaking of games where animals get hurt, Stray. I found out. I saw the beginning of the game. I was like, I can't do this. No animals die, but it's just the fact that he gets lost, and I'm like, I've had a cat lost
Oh,
before, and it sucks. We found him. So that is Game of the Year. My vote is going to either
Elden Ring is one.
Ragnarok. I didn't play Elden Ring. I
I didn't
played a
either.
little bit of it, but my vote's going to go to Ragnarok just because that's the one I've played. So I can't really vote on something else I haven't played.
Yeah.
Best game direction. So we already know what Game of the Year means. Best game direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So we have, again, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality, and Stray. Okay. I know where my vote's going. Best narrative for outstanding storytelling, narrative development in a game. Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality. All right, so we're not done
Is
yet.
Stray part of that?
No, Stray is not part of that one.
Okay.
Best art direction for outstanding creative and technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Number 1, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, which I haven't played yet, and Stray.
Stray.
All right. Best score / music for outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. I don't know these people's names, so I know Bear McCreary. He did Red Dead.
Ooh.
For God of War Ragnarok. Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, Metal Hellsinger, and then Mitsuda. I don't know what that is. I guess it's a game. Best audio design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Surprising.
What?
Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, and Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Best
Pretty narrow field.
Best performance awarded to an individual for voice over acting, motion, and or performance. Thank God Last of Us is not in any of these this year, because that would have won everything. Ashley Birch for Horizon Forbidden West, Charlotte McBurney for A Plague Tale Requiem, Christopher Judge, he's got my vote just because I like him, for God of War Ragnarok, Manon Gage for Immortality, Sunny Sujic for God of War Ragnarok. That is Atreus, if anybody's wondering. Games for Impact. Good God, how long is this list?
I want to be on the voice acting awards one day.
Games for Impact. Because you've done that before, right?
Multiple projects.
Games for Impact. For thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message, Memoir Blue, As Dusk Falls, Citizen Sleeper,
Stray.
Ending. No Stray.
Damn.
Extinction is Forever, Hindsight. Was that the one that had the characters from Rick and Morty? I don't know. And I was a teenage exocolonist. I don't know. It's games that have a message. Best ongoing game awarded to the game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player's experience over time.
Final Fantasy 14.
Yes. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. Fortnite, sorry. Best indie game.
My vote. Ooh.
Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu. I haven't played Sifu yet. Stray, and Tunic.
Tunic's the one with the little fox.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's like he looks like Link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best debut indie game: Neon White, Norco, Stray, Tunic, Vampire Survivors. That one actually just came out and it's free on Xbox Series X. It's free on Xbox Game Pass right now, and I want to play it. It's like a top-down. It looks like a bullet hell shoot 'em up game to me, so I definitely want to play that. Best mobile game: Apex Legends Mobile, Diablo Immortal, Genshin Impact, Marvel Snap. I hear that one's good. Tower of Fantasy. I don't know what that is. Best community support. I'm not reading the descriptions anymore. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14 Online, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. Wow, No Man's Sky is still getting some attention. I thought that was another one that came out and it was a complete mess, but they fixed it. Best VR AR game. Wow. After the Fall, Among Us VR, Bone Lab, Moss Book 2, and Red Matter 2. I don't know what that is. Innovation in accessibility. As Dust Falls, God of War. Oh, this is like for when they have, like if you're blind or deaf or something, they have accessibility options for you. So, As Dust Falls, God of War Ragnarok, Return to Monkey Island, Last of Us Part 1, and The Quarry. The Quarry basically is I'm gonna vote that one just because you can play the game, you can have everything automatically do it for you, so you don't even have to play the damn game except just move your character around. That's it. Best action game: Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Played about half of that game. Best action adventure game. Ready for it? Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, Stray, and Tunic. Okay, best RPG: Elden Ring.
Ooh.
Live. Okay, Pokemon Legends. Arceus. Triangle
Arceus.
Strategy. Arceus? Okay. Triangle Strategy. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Best fighting game. Wow. Not a lot here.
Tekken.
DNF Duel. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. All-Star Battle R. I'm guessing Royal. King of Fighters 15. Multiverse, which is the WB, Scooby-Doo, Dexter's Lab fighting game. Cartoon Network, the video game. And Sifu. Best family game. Yeah. Sifu is a beat 'em up. That's the Cobra Kai game that just came out is also like that, but it looks like trash, and I bought it. Best family game: Kirby Forgotten Lands, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. That's got my vote. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, which is what hurt my shoulder on Saturday. Splatoon 3. No, really, we were playing with my parents, and I went to do the bowling. I went to do it so hard that I felt the spot in my wrist, and then it just trickled all the way up to my shoulder. I'm like, oh! And so yesterday, I'm like, we had icy hot packs and everything on.
Oh, man.
Best sports/racing game: F1 22, FIFA 23, NBA 2K 23, Gran Turismo 7, and Ollie Ollie World. That's an old game, but they brought it back. Best sim strategy game: Doom, Spice Wars, Mario, Rabbids, Sparks of Hope, Total War, Warhammer 3, 2 Point Campus. I think that's one of those like operation games. Victoria 3. Okay. Best multiplayer game: Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Multiverse, Overwatch 2, Splatoon 3, Splatin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. Content creator.
That's a lot.
Yeah. How many more of these do we have? Oh, I just. Now we're getting into the esports crap. I don't care. When I got the content creator of the year, I don't care. Hold on. Let me make sure there's no others like important ones. Okay. Most anticipated game: Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, Starfield, Legend of Zelda, Tears in the Sun, Tears of the Kingdom. Best adaptation. Oh, this is like TV movies. Arcane League of Legends, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is the movie, and Uncharted, which is the movie. Haven't seen Sonic 2 yet. I know I talked about it in episode 2, and I still have not watched it.
You haven't seen the movie yet?
Nope. I keep forgetting to watch it. And that is it. Uncharted was good, though. I loved Uncharted. All right.
Predictions. Who's going to take the most votes home, or the most awards home?
That's going to be... man, it's gonna be Elden Ring or God of War.
Yeah, I agree. Elden Ring is pretty high up there. And
Now,
so would God of War.
do I think God of War does it deserve to be in there? Part of me says no because the game just came out and it's kind of not fair to the others, but it is also they were calling it a game of the year contender before it even released. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's gonna be God of War or Elden Ring. I hope Stray gets some just for the kitty cats, but I think it's gonna be one of those two. It's gonna take away the most awards. If anything, if history is to repeat itself, the Sony game is gonna win. Simple as that. When Last of Us Part 2 was in it, it took away all the awards. I don't think it deserved all the awards because I didn't think the game was that great. I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was that great to get every award in the show. So there was some going on there. Somebody was getting paid to give all the awards. In case you're listening in the audio version, I was just doing the
Money
money
symbol.
symbol.
Universal.
I think it's gonna be those two. It'd be nice if Horizon won some because the game is pretty nice from the 10 minutes I played of it.
I feel like it will get something. I don't know exactly what it would get, but it's definitely going to get at least two.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have to do an episode after that airs because I think it happens on a Thursday. Wow, my voice. I think it happens on a Thursday, and so we can talk about it that Sunday when we record or that Monday, whatever the following days.
Yeah, when does it actually what's
When
the
does it
date?
air? Let's see. It is. Oh, it doesn't say. It's just voting right now. It doesn't say when. It's usually in December though.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be towards
Hold
the
on,
end of
let me
December
see if
then.
they say it at the end here. December 8th.
Mm.
December 8th is when it happens. And also, you got to remember, we're going to get some world premieres and stuff there too. That's really all I care about is the new trailers. I please hope to God we get a trailer for Perfect Dark because they announced that game 2 years ago. Probably, no. Yeah, 2 years ago. And we haven't seen anything of it since then. It's been in development hell for a little bit, which is no surprise because Perfect Dark 0 was in development hell and Perfect Dark 1 was in development hell. So, yeah, those guys left and went and made Time Splitters, which is like a GoldenEye game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I think is gonna happen. It's gonna be one of those one of those two. As for video game and movie TV news, the only stuff I have is that Last of Us has a release date on HBO of January 15th, a week before my birthday, I think. I don't have time to look it up. Yes,
What do you
week
what
before
what
my
do you
birthday.
think?
What do I think? Have you seen the trailer?
I haven't seen the trailer for that.
So I think they're going to do it justice. Simply
Good.
because Neil Druckmann's working on it. Cool. I'm happy with that. I'm happy when the developers get involved. Capcom, take notes. Because just from the trailer I saw, I'm not going to go into Resident Evil rants. You already know what I got to say about that. But the trailer that I saw showed a lot of similarities to the game, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm liking this. Some people are not happy about the casting. I don't care. You got Mandalorian and Ghost Rider playing brothers. So Mandalorian is playing Joel. Ghost Rider, Gabriel Luna is playing his brother, so he's playing Tommy. But it looks like they're giving a few characters a little more backstory, a little more screen time. So if you play the game, when you run into Bill, he's talking about his partner Frank, who was mad at him and left and just died, or they found him hanging in one spot. So they're giving that character a little more screen time
Yeah.
because he really didn't have much in the game. They talked about him. Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil that part for you, but
That's good.
you'll see what I'm talking about when you get to the game. So they talked about him. They mentioned his name, and then you see him later, and you're like, oh, okay. So sorry, Frank. I think they're gonna give Bill a little more screen time too. He's played by Nick Hofferman, the guy from Parks and Recreation. Um, which I'm totally excited for. I love that actor. So it looks like it's gonna be good. And as I'm watching the trailer, I'm trying to pick out little things in here and there. Like, okay, is that the beginning of the game, or is that later in the game? Because
Yeah.
there's two spots where he's saving somebody. And then they have one line that they took from the game word for word, and he said it's when he says, "You have no idea what loss is," and that is a very in the game. That is a very like intense scene, like a very like when I saw when I played the game the first time in 2013, I was like, wow, that was like I was looking at Ellie in the game. I'm like, you shouldn't have fucking said that. That was just mm-mm, crossing a line there. But the way Joel replies is like, hey, you better, knock that shit off. So I know exactly what scene it was when the trailer happened. So I was like, okay, they're keeping the one line that I really liked in that game in the show. So I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be good. I don't think they're gonna do too many episodes. I hope that they don't do like a Walking Dead situation. Usually HBO doesn't do that, where they're like, hey, we're gonna make up a bunch of crap stories
Filler.
to fill in. Because if I remember correctly, a lot of HBO shows recently have only been like 6 to 10 episodes per season.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like I never watched Game of Thrones, but I know they were very short seasons. Westworld was pretty short seasons, even though they got canceled. May they rest in peace. Sorry, Westworld. Even though you get past halfway through season 2, great first season, but yeah, I just hope that they don't. I want to be able to have at least 2 seasons. So one season for the first game, one season for the second game. I don't want them to try and cram both games into one
One.
season. That's
Yeah.
just way, way, way too much for them to be able to pull that off successfully without, you know, putting too much in. So I think I read somewhere that they said they were going to try and do 2 seasons, which it makes sense because you have 2 games. One season could be game one season could be game two, and then leave it at that. Don't try and do any more than that.
Yeah.
I just feel like it would be too much at that point. I mean, I really wanted Watchmen to get a second season, but we didn't get one, sadly. That was a great show, and they only gave us one season, bastards. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be good. I know a lot of I can already see it now. People are gonna compare it to Walking Dead. It's not. It's nothing like Walking Dead. It's completely different. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. I asked my wife if she wanted to watch it, and she says, "Is that a game or movie?" I said, "It's based off of game, so you don't have to really play the game if you want to watch the show. It'll just show you what happened." And so she's down to watch it. If she likes it, that's a different story. I know I'm gonna like it. I'm excited for it. And I keep telling people who never played the game, I said, you need to watch this show. Watch it when it comes out. I don't care if you never played the game, watch the show.
Sweet. I actually finished watching, we kind of binge watched it in like a night. The Resident Evil show.
Oh God, how was that?
You haven't watched it? Okay,
No,
so
I don't. You can spoil
basically
it. I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it.
the husband is very picky when it comes to shows. Like he doesn't like cheese, he doesn't like anything. It was actually really good. There was a lot of parts into it. Some frustrating parts because you're just like any kind of horror movie, like why'd you do that? Like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like that on occasion in the show, but I think it was still pretty good. A lot of flashbacks trying to like connect original Raccoon City to where we are now and all that other stuff. So it's actually really good. I do recommend watching it. It's only I think 8 episodes or something like that.
So was it flashing back to the movies or just flashbacks of that they made for the? Because I was under the impression that this series was continuing off of the movies.
No,
Okay.
no. So there's the main girl and she's pretty much just trying to figure out through scientific experiments and stuff like that if she can get um the zeros, or as I think it's what they call them, if they will adapt and possibly learn and continue to evolve. So that's what she does in the field. It's pretty dangerous. She's got a family, all this other stuff, but there's still Umbrella and there's still locations in the world that are safe. But this show it's like second Raccoon City. So instead of the movie where, the world did get overrun or whatever, it did, but it has nothing to do with the movie. The only time they say anything is like original Raccoon City, and they don't even say the world got overran then. It was just Raccoon City, they nuked it, and it was done. Until now, when they started fiddling with it again with the T virus, and then
Yeah.
this is what happened. So yeah, it's like the movies never really happened except for like the first two.
Okay. I'll definitely check it out because yeah, the first two movies really those are the only two that I can watch. After that, it just kind of becomes a complete cluster of a series. I mean, I watched them all, but after a while, you're just kind of like these movies are really just blending together. I don't know which one's which. I can't tell 4 from 5 and
Yeah.
5 from 6 or three and 6 are kind of I don't know. I don't know. I won't get into it. I already did that once. Okay, I'll check it out. I know that there's a new Castlevania coming out for Netflix. I still need to finish season 3 and 4, and I heard there's a scene in one of the episodes in season 3 that made a lot of people uncomfortable because of what some twin characters do to Alucard. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want. Mm, mm,
Welcome to the world of anime.
mm, mm. So, I'll continue watching that, but the next series is supposed to take place with Richter. So I'm thinking of doing Rondo of Blood, which could lead into Symphony of the Night. So we may see Alucard again. So we'll see what happens because Richter only shows up in 2 games, Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. And then another twist in that game is they're like, oh, he's the villain of the castle he was, and he was just being controlled by Shaft. He's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Um, no, that's the character's name, Shaft, and I'm like, okay, all right. That's about it for video game news and shows. I do want to watch the Infinite Darkness anime Resident Evil as well on Netflix. I hear that one's good. Speaking of anime, The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror did a Death Note episode a couple weeks ago.
I heard.
I've never seen Death Note, but I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, so this is how this works. And then I'm listening to a podcast right now talking about the live action adaptation of Death Note, and they just absolutely hate it. I heard it
Yeah.
wasn't that good, but I'm like, oh, this is just like everything that happened in The Simpsons, except that was entertaining. This movie sounds like it's just a mess.
I haven't watched it either. A lot of live action adaptations of anime is not good.
Well, look
So
what
it's
happened
very
with
hard for me to do that.
yeah, look what happened with Cowboy Bebop. Canceled that
Oh
after
my gosh,
one
I watched the
season.
entire I watched it because I was getting the husband into it, right? And I was like, I watched the anime before the show came out and was released. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I love the anime. Like when I was a kid, I watched it on
Cartoon Network.
crap,
Toonami.
yeah, and Cartoon Network on Toonami. So I would watch it there, and my brother got me into it. Like Spike is so cool. And then I was like, he's never gonna watch the anime. He doesn't like to watch anything animated. So the live action came out, and he's like, okay, I'll sit here and watch it. And he was into it. I was like, the show it's nothing like the anime. Like it doesn't even show the certain spots that it's supposed to happen here and here and
Yeah.
here. It ruins the story. Like you don't get it. You're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to get it because the anime goes way more in depth into it.
Yeah.
And they move things around. I was like, I really hate this. But
Um,
they could have done so much better. They really could have.
oh yeah.
They had great actors. They just needed to follow the anime instead of whatever the hell they were trying to do.
There was there was something they were talking about doing a live adaptation of, and I can't remember what it was. And I said, "Oh, that sounds like it's gonna be a mess." I'll have to try and remember what it was. It was probably something I didn't really care too much about. But speaking of anime,
Ooh,
it is now your turn to tell us what animes you are watching. I feel like we kind of already were talking about it, so but still, you've always got the one that you're watching and that you think everybody else should watch. What is
yeah.
today's?
This one is gonna be absolute duo. It's kind of hard to describe what kind of maybe genre it kind of goes into. Fantasy, action, kind of like that. You're basically children, like middle school, high school. You're set into these schools where you can harness some type of power to fight amongst each other, but you have to do it in like a double team scenario. So you and the person that you are matched up with have to work together to do these battles, which are your grades. So you're graded on your battles and everything, that how you go against all these trials that you're through the school year. But there's also like that bad guy that is looking for the group, the couple that are perfect. They're the absolute duo. You follow, of course, it's a boy and a girl, so it's a little bit of a love story, a little bit of harem stuck in there, because there's a bunch of other girls that likes the main character, and try to combat for his attention. It only was one season that I know of. I only got to watch one season of it. I don't think it lasted longer than that. I think it was pretty much just a 6 months that it was out. But it was actually it's pretty decent. It had a lot of, light novels as well as manga pretty extensively. Different stories added to it. You probably get to know the characters a little bit better in the manga, but I just don't have time for that, so I'll watch the anime. Um, it's only, like, 10 episodes long. It's something that you can definitely binge in a day. It's not the greatest.
Right.
It's a cute story, but, like, it's something that you can say, "I watched it." Um, I recommend it. It has a little bit of pantsu, so I really don't recommend, like, small children watching it. Um, but nothing, like, graphic or anything. I mean, well, I mean, she does try to sleep with him naked, but, like, just not sleep with him, but, like, just lay next to him, and
Mhm.
she doesn't have pajamas. So there's that. But other than that, like it's pretty cutesy. Little bit of violence, but not too much. But a good story overall, because there is the teamwork, getting to know each other, becoming like a family, and then defeating this really big bad guy who's like trying to tear apart the ultimate duo. Like it's pretty good. I recommend it. Mark it off your list as something that you've seen one day of
Yeah,
watching, and you're good.
sounds good. Yeah, and where can they watch it?
I watched it on Hulu, but of course, they change everything monthly pretty much, but it's still on Hulu as of now. So yeah, it's pretty easy to get to. And then if you have Crunchyroll, I'm sure it's on Crunchyroll too. I
Yeah,
just don't have
there's a
Crunchyroll.
I don't remember where it was, but there's a way you can watch the Extreme Ghostbusters show, which was the after the real Ghostbusters. And that was an awesome cartoon, but I think it's only on Crunchyroll or something like that. And I was like, oh, why don't you have it streaming anywhere? They didn't even have the original Ghostbusters cartoon streaming anywhere. Like it was on Netflix for a while, and then they took it off. Thankfully, I have the the DVD set, so I can just watch it whenever I want. I don't like putting in DVDs. I just want to be able to click it.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of, my wife has to actually go through for one of her classes. She has to watch and compare both Ghostbusters movies. Well, no, there's three of them. It's four of them. But she has to watch the original and then the 2016 reboot and compare the two. And I
Mm,
said, "You gotta watch both of them." And she goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
yeah.
Um, but yeah, she was watching the second one yesterday, and I'm listening to I'm in here playing God of War, and I could hear the TV, and I'm like, "Okay, she's at that part. Okay, she's at that part." And she comes in. I said, "Have the ghosts gotten out yet?" And she goes, "Yeah, the ghosts are out." And I was like, "Okay." So she's at the literal end of the movie. Um, and I told her, I said, once you're done with it, we can watch that episode of the movies that made us on Netflix, which talks about the making of Ghostbusters and basically the behind the scenes and everything. So that was interesting. So I got off topic for a little bit.
No, that's cool.
But that pretty much is about it that I can think of for the show for today. So
Yeah.
anything awesome that you got coming up?
I wouldn't necessarily say awesome. There's a slight disappointment for the next maybe foreseeable future. couple of my buddies that I usually stream with on Tuesdays usually play like Borderlands games. One of them is unable to stream, so I'm gonna have to figure out something with that. Like he's not even able to play or anything. So, gonna have to figure out something for Tuesdays, but that'll be okay. I'll probably try to finish the Halo series faster in that case. Because I finished Dead Space, so I'm like, okay, what do I do now? We're playing Borderlands, and so Wednesday, Thursdays are usually it's probably gonna be Halo. I'm gonna probably catch up on some streams that I've missed because of all the debacle that happened at the house. But um Halo, maybe something online like Cat's Tail or something like that. Like something that
Stray.
was really cutesy. Probably something I can play pretty quickly. People want me to play Dead Space 2. And I'm like, no horror after each other. I can't do another horror game.
No horror back to back to back.
No, I can't. There's no
Yeah.
way. Like that makes me panic.
I mean, that's me
Um,
with the Walking Dead games. I'm like, I told you guys I can't do this back to back. That's just a lot of, because those games require like minimal talking on a stream. So I'm like, nope, can't do it back to back.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of story driven and stuff like that. You're like, I can't. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I have another voice acting thing happening. A game that I voice acted in is in its beta stage right now. You can actually play it on your mobile devices. Um, so that I mean, there's a couple things I'm doing. How about you?
I am, so we fit, well, today, at recording this and everything, I just uploaded my first episode of, well, first off, I uploaded all of Shadows of Rose last week. Awesome DLC. Scared the piss out of me at one spot. I won't talk about it. Y'all just have to watch the gameplay and you will see which part I got scared at, because I walked through the door and I kind of just stopped. The character stopped, I stopped, and I was like, nope. So I did that. Did that last week. Today, well, by the time this goes up, which probably won't be this week, um, Resident Evil Outbreak has gone live. My first episode for that, so I'm doing that. And as for streams, I am currently starting up. So depending on when you're watching this, I will have already been halfway through or almost completed with Silent Hill. So we're starting that up. Um, that's part of my November my November 800 follow or 800 subs celebration stream. And then after Silent Hill, I am doing a tribute stream for Kevin Conroy. May he rest in peace. I was so upset when I found out he died. We're gonna be playing Batman Arkham Asylum in December. That was a
Oh,
sad day. Uh, that dude was awesome. When I met him, he started talking. I was like, "Oh, dude, you are Batman. This is great." Like just the way he talked, I was like, "You don't even have to do a voice. That's just your voice." So I'm gonna be doing that, and then January-ish. I haven't really decided yet. Like I said, it's gonna be Metal Gear, but if I'm not done with Batman by the time January rolls around, then I'll still be doing that, because I want to try not to do, like, when it gets close to Christmas time. I kind of try not to do too many streams because the holidays and everything.
yeah.
But we'll see. I know Thanksgiving I'm not streaming. I won't even be able to, because family stuff.
Turkey
So
comas.
turkey comas. So I'll be spending time with the family. So there will be no stream on Thanksgiving.
Same.
Maybe not even Black Friday, because we'll still be with family doing family stuff. Actually, I don't stream Fridays anyway, so it wouldn't matter. I likely will still upload like shorts and stuff that day. Um, but the biggest one of all, and I almost forgot this, the biggest one of all, this Wednesday. So at the time of this going live, it's already live. My Resident Evil recap episode. This is the one where I covered the first 3 games. I'm calling it survival horror defined, Resident Evil survival horror defined, how the PS1 trilogy defined horror games, or the horror genre as we know it today. Because that series spawned a lot of clones, a lot of copycats, some of them good, some of them bad, and Silent Hill being one of those. Not the bad ones, the good ones. So that will be going live Wednesday. This episode now is probably going to be going live the following week, because I still have something planned for Friday. Which is kind of why I wanted to do more episodes like this where we just kind of talk and shoot shit about whatever. That way, it's not like on a time crunch to get out the door, right then and
Yeah.
there. As for the next episode, I think we should do the horror movie episode.
Okay.
And I think we should
Sweet.
do it similar to how we did this one. Compare the old school horror to new school, because I got some things to say about new horror, and not good things for some of them.
Okay. So
No
before the
rants,
next episode,
no rants, I promise.
you need to give me a list of stuff to watch because, like I'm a cheeky nuggie. I don't have. I mean, I can definitely watch a bunch of them before then. I
Mhm.
just tell me which ones you kind of want to talk about, and then my husband will be like, "Yes, we're gonna watch horror."
Yeah, well, probably because I don't know very many new ones.
Yeah,
Um,
most of them are like remakes.
yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to go with, was the remakes, and then like the genre itself, like the exorcism type movies or stuff like that. I don't have to watch them to get an idea of what I like and don't like about it. So, um, some of that, and I will give you a list. I'm probably gonna give you some of my personal favorites.
Yeah,
So I won't give you like I won't make you watch like the entire Friday the 13th or anything like that. Just my
a
choice
lot.
favorites from that series.
Yeah.
Which I have 3 favorites from that entire series, and the rest of them I'm kind of like, they're okay. Same with Nightmare on Elm Street. I have 3 favorites from that, and none of them are the first movie. Surprisingly, I love the first movie, but I have other favorites in that series that I enjoy watching much more than the first one. Yeah, I'll get a list together. I think we might be recording Sunday. I'm not sure yet, but I'll get a list together anyways. Um, that way we can, like, if we're not able to on Sunday, we can always just do it again, like another time, like Monday or something.
Yeah. Well, Sunday I don't
Um,
have the kids this weekend, so that's definitely easy for us.
yeah, I'll give you a list. I got to think of some good
Sweet.
ones, like the mainstream, but also the not mainstream, if that makes sense. Like some of the ones
Yeah.
that weren't like slasher movies that I enjoyed from the mainly 80s and
Cool.
maybe some 90s, because the 90s had some good horror movies too, and then the 2000s is kind of when they went and shit the bed. After that, that's
Yeah.
when they kind of just started getting very samey to me. And like there was one year I'm like, we got like 40 Exorcist and Alien Abduction movies came out. What the hell?
It's very popular.
Yeah. So that'll be the next one. And where can people find you? And remember, the links are gonna be down below. So uh, just keep that in mind. That her links will be all down below. So you can go follow her.
Yeah. You can definitely find me down below in any of the links. Twitch is where I stream. YouTube is where I put my VODs, my clips. If I have any box openings or anything like that, random stuff, definitely goes to YouTube. I have some cutesy little TikTokies that I do. So you can pretty much find me anywhere. Instagram, you'll find a little bit of like more of my life stuff towards there. And I have a Facebook page, but all you can find, the main ones are down below, and there's link trees connected to them as well. How about you?
You can find me here. Um, I have a Twitch, but I don't really stream there anymore. I usually just go over there and watch other people stream. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok. I don't think I have TikTok linked in here, so I might need to get that added in. But all the links you can find down below for me are mainly Twitter, Instagram, and I think Twitch. I'll get TikTok added in there too, because I'm trying to get more stuff put on there, more uh, shorts and things and everything. But most of my content is here on YouTube. Uh, Sometimes the shorts will make it their way over to Instagram or TikTok, so you see a lot of the same shorts. But definitely here is where everything is for me. I put everything in one place.
And if you're also interested, not just watching us and being able to maybe hear this on your ride to work or something like that, you can find these podcasts on Spotify as well. They are uploaded usually right after. Everything is good to go on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I also think I have my Discord link posted. I'm not sure. You know what? Screw it. I'll just put my link tree, and you can click that and find everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I have TikTok attached to it. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But other than that, I've got nothing else. So thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If there is anything that you would like for us to cover on future episodes, please let us know down in the comments below. If there's any like specific game you want us to talk about, or recap, or review, or anything like that, let us know. Because I'm always down to talk about anything and everything. Gaming, geek, whatever you name it, I will talk about it. Mittens will talk about it. And with that
Yes.
being said, thank you again, and we will see y'all in the next episode. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.